Okay, so we're back for example 4 in the notes here. And in this example, we are not transforming an absolute value function necessarily. This is just showing how we generally transform a function. So I'm giving you a graph, a specific graph, and then I'm giving you a transformation. And then it's about recognizing that transformation and then applying it on the graph. So in this function, we are taking our original function and multiplying it by a half. So the transformation that's going to be is just like before, we're multiplying it by a number smaller than 1. So that is a vertical shrink by a factor of 1/2, okay? By a factor of 1/2. So what that means is I am taking all my y values and dividing them by 2. So I look at my y value furthest to the left. It is a y value of 1, 2, 3, 4. Half of that is 2, so it turns into a y value of 2. The second one, the middle point that is indicated there, half of 1 is a half. So I'm going to graph it where I think a half is. And then the last one is at 3. So I'm going to graph where I think 1.5 is. So I'm just dividing all my y values by 2. So I have an arrow going to the right. I have just this segment right here. And it should make a little bit of sense that this graph is wider, all right? Vertical shrink makes a graph look wider. Next, we're doing a couple things to this graph. Firstly, we're going to reflect. Can't spell reflect, starting with F, right? We're going to reflect over the x-axis. Okay, reflect over the x-axis. And this is going to be a shift. And this is the part that we're going to practice because this part is a little tricky. This is a shift right 1 and up 2. Okay, so this one, you've got to kind of follow. It's going to be a little tough at first, but when we look at this, we're going to first reflect our points, find out where they are, and then shift them right 1 and up 2. So my point to the left the most was up 4. To reflect it, I'm going to go from the origin down 1, 2, 3, 4. So it would be right here, okay? But I'm shifting right 1 and up 2. So right 1 and up 2 from there would be this point. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. That's our new point. That's a reflection. And then after that reflection, I shift right 1 and up 2. My next point, the middle point, to reflect it, it would be right here. But then I'm shifting that point right 1 and up 2. So right 1, up 1, 2 would be right here. I'm going to draw that one in bigger also. Okay, then our last point was up 3. I'm going to reflect it by going down 1, 2, 3. And then from there I shift right 1 and up 1, 2. I'm going to draw that one in. So I've got a segment here. I've got a line extending here. And I know the points look kind of funky, but that should make sense. It's flipped upside down, and it is shifted. So sometimes it helps to draw those intermediate points on our way to our final image of that function, okay? So at the end here, we've got a little guided practice. Take a second, pause the video, try and graph this, and then check your answers with me in a few seconds. Okay, so to explain this one, this is a reflection because we're multiplying by a negative number. It is a vertical shrink because we're multiplying our function by a number smaller than 1. So what I did was I reflected, so that point was at -4, and -4 divided by 4 is 1. So that's where I got that point at -1 there. Next point, if you reflect it, it's at -1. 1 divided by 4 is 1/4, so I graphed it where I thought -1/4 would be. And the final one, reflected it, -3 would be here. 3 divided by 4 is about 3/4, 0.75, so I graphed where I thought that would be. So this shows a flipped upside down graph that looks a lot wider than our original graph. So again, on this too. I'm going to give you mini practices throughout because this is something that is new. This is something that we are going to keep covering as the year goes on. So understanding these transformations is an important thing that I want you guys to get more solid in. So it's not necessary that you memorize how to do it now, but just understand some of those common things that happen when functions get transformed. So I'll have you move on to the next step in lesson 2.7.